Hey guys!
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. You'll notice immediately if you've been here before, the setup is a little bit different. It's because Joe is usually the host. Not this Joe, but the other Joe is usually the host, and he's not with us today. So here we are. Joe is currently looking after his family, so in his stead is Joe. Joe's stepping in for Joe, and I hope that doesn't get too confusing. If it does, just talk to Joe as if he's Joe. It should be pretty easy. Should be easy enough.
Easy solution.
Easy solution. Yeah, just call him Joe because that's what he is. That's what he is. He is Joe. He is. And Joe. Was the English wrong? Oh shoot. Sometimes Joe's gonna freeze on us because he's unstable. His internet's not very good. But there we go. Shh.
They won't notice.
No one saw that. No one saw that.
If I randomly pause randomly throughout this entire thing, people just won't know when I'm frozen and when I'm here.
Right. Joe's really good at being still. Sometimes it's a little too amazing. It's very convincing. Anyways, yeah. How you doing, Joe?
Good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah. It'll come back good for all the people here. So, hopefully. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you. How you doing, Princess?
I am doing wonderful. How about you, chat?
Why are you guys so quiet? That was weird.
Why are you so
I was waiting
quiet?
for. Well, okay. Well, sometimes that's just how you guys are. I was just, expecting some sound. There is nothing. Oh wait, I forgot to set the audio levels. Could you say something weird for me? Like anything.
Something weird for you? Anything.
Okay,
Yes.
that's pretty good. All right, we're about the same.
Or were you talking to chat again?
Yeah,
Chat,
no, yeah. Chat, let me check your audio levels, chat. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn you up a lot. Anyways, yeah. Okay, nice, nice, Fana. Congratulations, that's awesome.
Pretest. Test it out.
You tested out. That's super good. I love when I test out of stuff.
You
remember
have a
in high
free
school.
class now?
In college, I tried to test out of some things, and I tested out of some math stuff, but then they still set me into a class that was like below my level, and then I tried to test out of some English stuff, and then they were like, no, no, you definitely need an English course. And I was like, dang it, they got me. So that was my experience. My English is so bad. Well, it was. I learned how to use commas too well, and now everybody hates the amount of commas I use because I use them all the time.
No. The perfect amount of commas.
I use the perfect amount of commas. Anyways, let's get this show going. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about whatever's on your mind, not ours. Where we talk about the issues. In this life, you're gonna be running into a lot of problems. And that's okay. Life is like that. That's not anything different from anybody else. But what we can do is we can take those problems and make them awesome for us. We can use them, and basically we're just here to help you through that process. We're not psychologists, psychiatrists, police officers. One of us is a teacher. It's not me. But yeah, we can ultimately just be a friend. Share our experiences with the issues that you're having, and just encourage you. A lot of times you know what to do to get through your own problems, but sometimes just having someone to talk about it or have encouragement can really go a long way. So yeah, hey, no problem, welcome, thanks for being here. Yeah, so with that said, Joe, you got anything you want to add on to that? Princess?
No.
Anybody?
I mean, Princess has put in the links. So if you need to contact us, you have questions, feel free. And it's definitely okay to have questions. I think I've got one in there from.
You do. You want to do yours?
No. We'll save it. We'll keep saying. If we run out of things, but everyone has things that they want to talk about, need to talk about. You probably might not even know. So sometimes it's good to just like, I don't even know if this is a thing, but why don't we talk about it? You can post that there. That's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. I really wouldn't.
Absolutely. Thanks for covering that. Yeah, I'm kind of like hosting, and I'm not normally hosting, so I'm trying to figure out all this stuff. Yeah, again, if you've just joined, you can see the setup's a little bit lacking. That's because Joe is not with us today, so I had to host. So, not host, but I guess be the one with the computer with the stuff on it.
That's usually what we call it.
Perfect.
Yeah, sure. But anyways, yeah, there we are. So I'm going to go ahead and run down the list of names. And if you're here, drop something in the chat for us so we know that you're here. That way we can cover your topic. If you're not here, you stink.
Oh.
Come here.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. You guys are awesome, even if you're not here. We love you. So we got Ian Lam, Ezekiel Games, Dracon, LG, Toast, Immature Success, Joe B, an Anonymous, Baka, another. No, actually, we did that Anonymous. So Meow. There we go. We also did Baka. So those ones are done. So yeah, Ian Lam, Ezekiel Games, Dracon, LG, Toast, Immature Success, Joe B, and Meow. Oh, and an anonymous person.
Did you refresh?
Oh, maybe I have to refresh? Okay, I'll try that. Are there more?
Wrong. No,
and then there's also one from Ash and then another anonymous person. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Nope, I've never had to refresh that before, ever. That's always been like automatically updated, so that's interesting. Cool. It looks like right off the bat we do have one anonymous person with us, as confirmed by Princess.
And that one is important, by the way.
And it is important. Okay. Well, of course they're all important. But you mean urgent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I figured. Cool.
It's important to cover this stream if possible, please.
Yes. All right. Well, then why don't we start with it?
That's a great place to start.
Yeah. The very beginning, but that was
beginning.
actually the very end of our list.
Take it from.
Or is it the beginning?
Oh, yeah. If you go from the bottom up, that's. Yeah.
We started from the bottom, and now we are here.
Is it Eminem?
That's I don't know, maybe.
I
I don't know.
I don't know either. Is that wait? No, that's not Eminem. That's
Sorry, everyone. I've put musicians near that I don't actually know.
Yeah.
How cruel.
That's that other guy. That's all right. That's all right. We don't have to know our musicians.
They're musicians here? Where? What?
Yeah, I'm not a musician, so I don't need to know that kind of stuff. Not at all. Awesome. So, Princess put the link in the chat for you guys. If you want to read along, you are free to do so. This one is titled My Family, and it's from an anonymous person. So, Princess will read it whenever she is ready.
Thank you. Today, I snapped at my dad, who is a narcissistic, misogynistic, rude, slightly racist, and slightly homophobic person. He has been dead-naming me and misgendering me for years, and today, after what my aunt pulled, I snapped. She dead-named me several times, and every time I remind her, she just laughs and says, "That's so funny." I'm sick and tired of my parents not even putting in the effort to respect me. And then they tried to guilt-trip me and shift the blame. I'm so happy my therapist pointed out that my parents were being emotionally abusive and manipulative, or I would still tolerate this. I know I have to deal with it until I can move out, and it was a bad move to get angry, but I lost my composure and snapped. And I'm on vacation, so I will have to leave my hotel room and see them. I can just wear my AirPods and ignore them, but I also want to spend my last day with my sister before she goes to college, and I'll have to share a room with my aunt anyway. I wish she wasn't here. She's always at family events that should be just us. She shouldn't be here dropping my sister off for college. This should be just for us. I want her to leave and never come back to another family event. This is my family. Stop trying to invade it. I'm so tired of this family. I hate almost everyone in it. I'm so glad that I'm going to boarding school, but then, unfortunately, I'll have to see my family again on the weekends. What can I do to not snap? And what do you do to stay calm when you're on your last straw? From Anonymous.
Yeah, it's a good one. Family family can be like that. Family oftentimes is where we show the worst sides of ourselves, where we snap the easiest. And so I think that almost all of us can relate to this. There are times where there's certain family members. It's just like, why are they here? They're just ruining everything. They're just ruining the mood. Or you have that one person in the family that has different political beliefs than everybody, but always wants to bring it up. Um, you know, Luckily I don't have one of those in my family, but I've heard about them, and yeah, so I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to this. It is a very difficult thing. I remember listening to someone who was doing a talk show host. He was a talk show host, and he was talking about a similar issue where a lot of times when we're with our family, we snap so easy. We show them the worst sides of ourselves, and we don't treat them as well as we treat a stranger, even, right? We don't treat them as well as we treat them an acquaintance. We fail to do that. And they said, it's interesting that we do that because it seems so backwards, but it makes sense, right? You're with them all the time, so you feel like you can be loose, and not I guess it's easier to just break, right? Um, and the talk show host said we should be fighting against that. If they're our loved ones, we should love them, and we should try to figure out how to be the most loving we can be and the most tolerant we can be of them. The problem is that should be two-sided, right? Like you said, they're not being very tolerant of you, right? You're trying to basically experience life in a certain way where where you aren't. For example, you said your dad is narcissistic, misogynistic, rude, slightly racist, slightly homophobic. These are things that are untolerating, right? There's a sense of toleration that he needs to learn, and you're supposed to be the one that's tolerating of him as well, and that's really difficult. So I can understand. I just wanna say, I get that this is really difficult, and I don't blame you for having the emotions you have, and I can understand 100%. You just getting to a point where you snap, because each person has a limit, you know. And as we go through life, we can increase that limit, the more we go. But sometimes that limit seems to just get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller if we're not taking the right actions, or if we're not venting correctly and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's quite a bit we can discuss here, and hopefully we can do it justice. But I just want to say I understand, and it is a very difficult situation what you're going through. So yeah. Anyways, with that said, Joe, I'm gonna give it over to Joe. Let's see what he's got to say about it. I'm excited to hear what he's got.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for your question, anonymous person. It's definitely always okay to ask questions anonymously. I think there's a lot of things that we want to ask, but sometimes it doesn't feel appropriate to ask them. I had a very good friend coming to me recently, and he was afraid. He was like, "Hey, I've got this thing going on in my life that's just not very good, but I want to talk about it." And he's like trying to figure out his words, and I had to remind him, like, it's okay to say things that are wrong, right? Like, it's okay when you're trying to get your emotions out, when you're trying to say what's going through your mind and what's happening. To just say what comes to your mind, because that is what you're thinking, right? You're trying to process these emotions, and at times things are going to come out that are, I think you said you lost your calm and your composure and snapped, which usually I'm going to assume meant that you said some things you didn't really want to say. And this is just to point out that there is something in there, right? Like you wouldn't have just snapped and said something that you didn't believe. Like you do generally believe it. You don't just snap and just start lying to the other person. You generally snap and start saying what's on your mind. And this is to say there are healthy ways to do that, right? There's healthy ways to come, perhaps here through Don't Worry Wednesday, to post it and say, okay, I have these issues I need to process and work through. And so there's a lot in here that it comes down. We could do a breakdown, but I think I just want to get to your question about what can I do to not snap, and what do you do to stay calm when you're in your last straw? Because that's going to happen regardless. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. Learning to remain calm when you've kind of been pushed to the edge is something that you can take with you for a long time. And so I just want to get at that of sometimes it's okay to walk away, right? And oftentimes it can seem a very disrespectful. And for some people, they might take that incorrectly, but I might make a point that is it more disrespectful to them to walk away, or to just light them up with angry words and upset thoughts? I mean, yes, there's something to be said of not turning your back on somebody, but also it's okay to take a step back. If you are not going to handle this properly right now, it's okay to take a step back and compose yourself. Ryan's talking about one of us becoming a teacher, and so part of the training talked about, all right, when you're communicating with parents, students, things like that, if they've made you angry, don't respond, don't send messages when you're angry, don't send messages when you've been pushed, because you have time to respond, right? Unless it's a life or death situation, which I don't think that this is right now. You have time to respond. You have time to compose yourself. One time my mom's backseat driving, and because she really likes to go places really fast. I love you, Mom, by the way, if you're watching. She likes to go places fast, and I'm sitting in the turn lane. And there were all these gaps. The cars always were like gapped just perfectly that I'm like, I don't feel like I can turn right now. And she's like, what are you doing waiting? You could have made that. You could have made that. And I looked at her and I'm like, you always have time to wait, right? Like, I don't always have time to turn. Other cars can be there, but I can just sit in the turn lane for a long, long time and just nothing happens. We're just in the turn lane.
And some noises might happen behind you, like,
yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah, I might get honked at, but in reality, like, I have all the time I need to turn. And there wasn't anyone behind us, but that's neither here nor there. The idea is, you have time. Like you have time to do things. You don't need to pull out in front of an oncoming truck, right? You don't have to, lose your cool. And oftentimes, I mean, if somebody's being rude or narcissistic, like they're trying to get that response out of you, right? Like they want you to go, because then they can feel vindicated. And what I want you to do is take a step back, and kind of reanalyze the situation. Again, when I was talking to my friend earlier, sometimes when you take that step back and reanalyze the situation, you realize that there could be other things you didn't think about on the first run through. Perhaps, for with this issue of dead naming, I mean, I've recalled random events from a long time ago for no reason, right? Like I have used the wrong name for somebody. It wasn't even their name at any point. It was just I just called them a name that wasn't theirs. there's don't tell anyone this, but I'm telling everyone. There's this lady at church whose name is Jessica, and I always want to call her Ashley. And I don't know why. It's not there. There's not like a reason. I was never introduced to her as Ashley, and nobody's ever said her name was Ashley, but that's what I think her name is every time. And it's really difficult. My dad's birthday is a specific day of a specific month, and I always think it's another day for no reason. It's not, it's never intentional. It's not meant to be there. But I use the improper times, dates, names for things all the time. And that's when it wasn't like those were not, I was never using the correct thing, right? Maybe for, it's tough for your parents because for a long time that was the correct name, right? It's not like it was, always wrong. It is now perhaps, but it wasn't always that way. And so rewiring your brain takes time. Dealing with some of these things takes a lot of time. Pilot, don't tell anyone. So shoot. So the matter is there's lots of things that aren't generally necessarily intentional, right? It's very easy in the moment when you're angry to assert intent. Like, I know what that person was thinking. But unless you've developed the superpower of mind reading, which by all means, if you have, congratulations. But if not, like me, you don't actually know. And there have been many, many times where I've been angry with somebody, and I yelled at them. I came back because it's good to apologize. Like after it's okay. Like sometimes you are going to lose your head. Apologize. Like that's the next step. But I've come back in to apologize to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I totally didn't mean that way at all. Not even close." I don't know what you were thinking. Not really. They don't say that, but I had no idea what they were actually trying to think. So, take that moment to step back and recognize, okay, I don't need to attribute intent to everything. Perhaps they didn't, but I need to use this time to reacclimate myself, get myself ready to engage things from a heart standpoint in your mind and heart that is level-headed, that is calm, that is at peace. And then you're going to have a much more productive discussion and time. So that was far too much. I shouldn't talk this much because I've outed myself on several things that I probably shouldn't have. So I'm going to pass over to Ryan, who's going to save me from myself.
No, I'm just going to out you on more things. Did you know that Joe is drinking Culver's something, probably soda pop?
Sponsor. Just kidding.
Sponsor. Nah, man, that'd be awesome.
It is Pepsi.
It's Pepsi. Yeah, we need to get Culver's to sponsor us for Don't Worry Wednesday. There we go. Now we can start making money.
Hashtag open for sponsors.
Yeah. Okay.
Shameless plugs.
Yeah. Anyways. Did you know that we have products? Okay. Anyways. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, no, you pointed the right way the first time. It was perfect. Good job.
Oh, shoot. I screwed up.
You did it, man. First try. Don't do a second. Anyways. Yeah. Joe, I love what you were saying. That's so true. Oftentimes, we don't realize you have time. When someone says something to you, most of the time, yeah, they want an immediate response, immediate answer, but you don't have to give that to them. It is a lot of times great to just take that moment and be like, you know what? Hold on, let me process in my head, and I'm just going to be silent for like 4 minutes. Sometimes it's that long, and you just stare at them, and they're like, what? Say something. And you're like, I'm thinking. I'm trying to process something. And that's okay to say. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, hey, hold on, let me try to process something in my brain right now. So that you can think it through effectively. And people will give you time. If you say that, generally people give you time. If you just say, hold on, let me process that. Let me process that for a second. They'll probably understand, oh, they're trying not to explode at me. Or you can even say that, like, literally, you know, I've been in scenarios where I've just like, hold on a second, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so let me just process this for a moment. I'm gonna try to figure out my words and whatever, right? Most of the time, people are gonna be patient with you, because they don't want you to explode at them. So, yeah, I really like what Joe was saying, and I think that's a great habit to get into, is to just take your time. Um, it's really helpful. I know, especially in my case, it has been. So, thanks for pointing that out. It's a great one. Um, you know, another thing that, along the lines of dead naming, you also have to understand that your parents gave you the name that they gave you, right? And it wasn't just some kind of flippant thing. Flippant. It wasn't some kind of flippant thing. Flippant meaning not thought about. Something that you just did randomly, offhanded. With like no reason. My mom gave me the name Ryan. She studied the name Ryan before she gave it to me. She said it in her head 1,000 times to see, is that the name that sounds good? Can I get used to calling my son this? And so there was a process, right? And so she named me that because she had to give me a name. Of course, everybody gets a name, pretty much. But also, she named me that, and she was attached to it, right? She is emotionally attached to the name Ryan. And the emotional attachment that she has for it is a loving emotional attachment. It's a caring emotional attachment. It is an emotional attachment that says, he's mine. I gave birth to that, and he's mine. And those are all good things, right? Those are all good things. It can be very difficult for a parent to change to just, even if it's been years, it can be very difficult for a person to go, okay, I have to do away with the name that I named them out of love, and I care about them, and that name means something special to me. That name means them to me, and that I like that, and I have to give that up, and I have to pick the name that they chose for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with changing your name. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We're supposed to honor that. If someone wants to be called something, there's no issue calling them that, unless they're calling them something that they're not, right? Which is like Superman, right? We don't have to call someone Superman. It's like, you're not Superman, dude. I don't want to feed your mind thinking that you're Superman. You're not Superman. We don't have to call someone by something that they're not. Like, hey, I'm the Pope. Call me the Pope. That's my name. I think in that kind of case, you just say, no, I don't think I'm going to call you that. But if you've picked a normal name, right? You've picked a regular name that suits you, right? There's no reason that there's no sin in that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So a parent should be able to start naming their child that. But it's still very difficult. I have a friend who changed their name to Willow. And I have another friend who changed their name to... what was it? I cannot remember. See, that's the problem. I grew up with this friend. I grew up with them. They were my best friend. From kindergarten, before kindergarten, all the way till the end of high school, we hung out almost every single day. And I know them by a certain name. And halfway through high school, they changed their name to a shortened version of their full name, right? They have a full name, they changed it to a shortened version. And I still call them by their full name because that's what I've been calling them their whole life. And they were fine with that. They wanted most people to call them by their shortened name. He corrected them a few times. But then eventually, a couple years later, he decided that he was a she. So now She has a different name, and I've forgotten it. It's a pretty cool name, but it sounds like a name you would find in a fantasy novel. But I can't remember it right now. So it's a cool name, but I just don't remember it. And that's my problem. If I was around them every day, then sure, I shouldn't have that problem. But for me, they will always be the person, not the name, right? And so when I see them, I think of the name that is that person that I grew up with, right? And it's just, that's who they are. That's their name. But when I say the name, I think of all of the things that they are, which is an incredible amount of things. They're an incredible person, right? I had so much fun with them. We have so many memories. So a name, it can be hard to get rid of. It can be hard to change over. And it can be even resisted, right? It can be resisted not because they dislike you. It's not resisted because they don't like who you are. It's not resisted because they don't like the idea of what you're doing. Oftentimes it's resisted because they have so many things tied to that name that are good memories and loving things. And they don't want to lose that. And they're like, this is my name for you. I've always called you this. And they resist it because it's a change, and it does. They don't think that they should have to make that change, and they when they want all of those experiences, they don't want to start with a new person. They love the old person as well, right? And that old person is still you, right? Whether you've changed your name or not, all of those things they compile onto who you are now, right? And so I can understand their difficulty, and what I'm asking from you is to understand their difficulty, not to say that what they're doing is correct. If they're doing it to make you angry, obviously that's very wrong. But if they're doing it out of sincerity, if they're doing it out of resisting, not because they dislike you, but because they like you, and they don't want to have to change, and they want to remember you by that name, I'd say try to understand that and tolerate them. In fact, what I would do is I would ask them what their intentions are. If you can ever get a moment where you can ask them, just say, hey, I'm curious. Why do you continue to call me by my old name? Is it a habit? Is it because you have an attachment to that name? Because, that's understandable. Is it because you don't accept me as this gender now? And you don't want me to become that, so you keep on saying this, hoping that I'll come back and return to my old self? Like, what? Why are you saying my old name? And hear them out. Hear what their answer is. And definitely give that third option, because it allows them to say it. But most of the time, people won't say it, even if it's true, because people don't want to hurt other people, even if they know, like, oh, that person's doing the wrong thing, but I can't call them out on it because I don't want to hurt them, right? A lot of people are like that. Now, there's other people who are just like, who are in your face, like, you're doing the wrong thing, I don't care if you're hurt, So there's all kinds of people. But saying that third option with a disclosure of like, hey, I'm not going to be angry if this is your option, if you pick this option, right? If you say, hey, I'm not going to be angry at you if you are calling me by my name just because you don't want me to have the new name and you want me to return to my, other self or whatever, I'm fine with that, but tell me if that's why you're doing it, because I don't want to be mad at you for no reason. I want to be legitimately mad at you if you're doing the wrong thing to me. I want to know, I want to know your intentions, because the intentions matter a lot more than the actions. And we live in a world where people say actions matter more than intentions. But intentions are what fuel the action. And here's the thing. If someone intends to be nice, but they say something like, hey, nice shoes, right? And you're worried about your shoes. You've been worried all day. People would pick on you because of your shoes, and they say, hey, nice shoes. You immediately come to the consensus that, like, whoa, they're making fun of me right now. They think my shoes look ugly. They're like, nice shoes, dork. And it's like, whoa, that's not what they said. And that wasn't their intention. Their intention was to be kind to you, right? But we can, like Joe was saying, we can easily, I've done it my whole life, where I just push I push what I think their intentions are into their words, into their actions, and it just comes back to bite me. I've done it so many times. So I've learned to basically take my time, ask them their intentions before I blow up. Because if I understand where they're coming from and open that dialogue up, it makes the whole conversation a lot better, even if their intention is to hurt me. If their intention is to be like, yo, you're doing the wrong thing, blah, 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 and that's going to hurt, right? I'm going to be like, okay, now I have sufficient reason and argument to be angry. But I don't want to be angry without reason. Being angry is not wrong. Blowing up in someone's face is not technically a sin. You know, it's just maybe the wrong way to do something, and maybe you'll let some words fly that you're not supposed to, but it's not technically wrong, right? It's socially wrong. It's socially wrong because it doesn't help build relationships a lot of times, but it can. That's the thing. If you're in a situation where you decide that, hey, no matter what happens at the end of this explosion, we're going to love each other and we're going to get the resolve that we're looking for. If that is in your mind, then it's okay to explode sometimes. Because, like Joe said, that's kind of sometimes how we just have to express and get out everything that we have to say, you know? Now, I'm not saying you should. Like I said, if you can withhold that and not do it, generally it's going to be better for you because you can talk it through in a more calm state, and that makes things so much better. But if you explode, don't be mad at yourself as if you've done something wrong. Just make sure that you've taken that and you try to gain something from it. A lot of times it's hard to, though. A lot of times the explosion happens, everyone's angry, and that's that, right? So now you have to come in and make something useful out of that scenario that happened in the past. You've gotten everything that you needed to say out into the public, right? Now is the time where you have to reinitiate that scenario, but from a calm standpoint, and make use of it. And that is a technique all its own. But it's a technique that's super important to learn because no matter who you are in this life, there are times where you're going to mess up, you're going to say something you wish you didn't say. Then it's figuring out, how do I make the best out of this, right? And that's a lot of times coming in with talking to yourself, figuring it out, then talking to everybody else about it. So in this scenario, you can come up and just say, hey, look guys, I'm really sorry I exploded. And I didn't really mean entirely that, this. I said it this way because I wanted to be more impactful and make you angry, and I'm sorry. That was wrong with me. But, what I said was what I said. And I'm running through these issues. And it's hard for me when you're pressing on me with these issues all the time. And I'd just like to ask you to try to stop, because it's just making me a wreck inside. And if you come at them with that, and you don't blame them, you just come at them with that, just, hey, I'm just kind of exploding inside when all of this is going on, and I'm just asking you guys to maybe try not to do that to me, because it's hard. It's hard for me, it's going to be a lot easier for them to try to honor your wishes, right? Because now that you've gotten everything on the table and you've apologized, they can see firsthand that it is stressing you out. And if they care about you, they might not stop immediately, but they'll be trying to stop, right? Because habits are habits. And you have to forgive people, and you have to understand, hey, they're not going to get it in their first try. They're not going to get their second try. It's going to be a lot of tries, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes, but they'll slowly get the hang of it, right? So you just have to be patient with them and know, if if they say it wrong, if they dead name you, you can just be like, hey, look, again, are you trying to dead name me, or are you just it's bad habit? And they'll tell you. And if they're trying, then you know what? You can just emotionally let go. Say, okay, they're not even trying, so I'm just detaching my emotions from that. There's nothing more I can do. If they're not trying, then why should I get worked up about it? If they're not trying, why should I get worked up about it? What's it to me? Just allow it to be and be like, yeah, whatever, guys. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. And not that it's okay, but you know, it's like, don't expect me to be jolly around you guys. Don't expect me to, you know, be compassionate towards you when you guys, you know, blah blah blah. It's harsh, but if they're not trying, why should you allow them to hurt you, right? Because if you give them the chance to hurt you, right? If you give them emotional control over how you feel inside, right? That's a problem, right? You don't want to give them control over how you feel, because they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. So don't give them that control. You can still be compassionate. You can still love them, but don't expect them to do that for you. What I mean is, do that for them. Be kind to them. Love them. Cherish them, no matter what they say. But again, do not give control over your happiness, over your emotional state. Don't give it up to them. Don't put it in their hands. Don't expect them to make you happy. Don't expect them to make you sad. Just don't expect anything from them on your emotional state, because as soon as you do, it's game over. No matter who you are, even if you have the best friends in the world, if you give the best friends in the world your emotions to handle, at some point they're not going to be thinking about you. They're going to be thinking about something else, etc., and everything's going to go flush down the toilet, and it's going to stink, even with the best friends in the world. So that's my final thing, is it's important not to decide that your happiness is based on what they say, because they're not thinking about you most of the time. They're trying to think about themselves, just like you're thinking about yourself most of the time, and that's okay. But yeah, we should not ever give our happiness. We shouldn't rely on other people to make us happy, right? We shouldn't rely on other people to make us feel accepted. We shouldn't rely on other people to make us feel loved, accepted, or happy, because as soon as we do, we will find that they can't do that over and over and over. And I lived that way for too many years of my life to realize that it's all in here. I have to decide for myself. Am I going to be happy, or am I going to be sad? Regardless of what other people have to say. You know? And I talked for like super long on that. I'm sorry. Joe, do you have anything you want to follow up with?
No, I think that was good. You covered plenty. I mean, and there's lots. Like, again, yeah. I want to stress, it was a long topic, but no matter what you ask us, we're never going to be able to cover all of your situations.
That's true.
Again, don't have we're selling by saying don't have expectations on us either, right? Like, we're not going to meet all of your expectations. It's just, that's a unfortunately a terrible thing to put on other people, because one, then what if I feel responsible for your happiness? Like, that's a heck of a burden to lay on somebody. Mm-hmm. And then two,
it is. Been there.
Humans. Yeah, Ryan was the reason for my happiness for a long
time. No, it was not, dude. Don't even.
No, not at all. But I mean, even if it isn't, it's giving up something that you could definitely have on your own. I mean, even talking with my wife, we often remind ourselves that, you know, I'm not responsible for her happiness. She's not responsible for my happiness, and we're married. Like, in terms of a relationship that should be pretty close, it really comes down to you. So I think that's a great thing that was Ryan was saying. Just as to kind of make light of a situation. Again, I'm not trying to say that your situation is in any way menial or trivial, but when I say lighten, I mean that maybe there's another way to look at things. So, for instance, my name is Joe, but if you look in the chat, my name is also Joseph. And for the longest time when I was younger, I went by the name Joey. I decided to become a teacher, and I now teach at the high school I graduated from. And lo and behold, lots of teachers that I had were still there. So they refer to me by my childhood name, which I could easily take as they're treating me like a child. They think lesser of me. But when in talking with all of them, it's not that they think less of me. They know that I've gone on to do many things and that I'm coming back and I'm a professional now. But that's how they have referred to me, and that's how they know me. And like Ryan was saying about his friend, when they think of me, the name that pops in their head is Joey. But the person that pops in their head is the me that is me now. Right? It is the person who has gone on to do many things and is coming back as a teacher. It is the you that is changing many things about themselves, growing and going off to school. The name that they have for you is that, but the person that is you, they know as you. In the end, a name is, what's the old quote? A rose by any other name would be just as beautiful. Mm-hmm. I mean, truly, a name is really but a name for what underlies it. So, I hope that you find the patience to be able to work through some things. And again, you can be responsible for your reactions, your actions and reactions, but others are of their own. So again, really appreciate you posting this topic. I mean, it's very deep, it's very personal, and we appreciate you sharing it with us to talk about, because while you might be going through it, there are many other people who are experiencing the same or similar issues that just haven't asked it. So thank you for coming out and telling us about your thing. And I guess I'm contractually obligated to tell you, don't worry, it's Wednesday. We don't have a contract, by the way, and I'm not obligated to tell you that, but
yeah, you signed the paper.
But don't worry, it's Wednesday, and have a wonderful Wednesday indeed. If you're here. So you have anything else, Ryan? Or
yeah, I have the distinct honor of knowing the anonymous person, and I just want to say you're awesome. I know a lot of people that know you better than I do, and there's a lot of nice things that are said about you behind your back. So don't just keep that in the back of your mind. All right, you're a great person, and every time I've gotten the chance to spend any little amount of time I have with you, it's always been a joy. So thank you so much for the topic. I know there's, honestly, I could talk for like 3 more hours on the subject. There's a lot to say with what you gave us. And I hope that I didn't bore you by, repeating myself too many times or giving off really long examples of something. But, there's so much. And I hope that you can take something away from this and use it to, figure this out. Because I understand that it's a difficult thing. So, keep at it. You're amazing. And, thank you so much. All right. On to the next topic. I'm going to go ahead and read down this list again. I know I've seen a couple people pop into the chat that were in the queue here. So I'm just going to read it and let me know that you're here by putting anything in the chat. And I mean anything. I want to see anything in quotes. All right, we got Ian Lam, Ezekiel Games, Dracon, LG, Toast, Immature Success, Joe B. That's you. You don't have to. An anonymous person, Meow, and Ash. Anything, there it is. Anything.
I did exactly what you requested. I don't know what you want from me.
Oh, wait, is that first one a quote? It looks, it's probably a quote.
Oh,
yeah. If for some reason on my computer it got squashed into 1 line instead of 2. It's because I'm rendering higher than... Never mind, computer things. Don't worry about it, guys. If you guys know anything about graphics cards, then you'll probably know what's going on.
Not to
So
get too graphic though.
yeah, oh yeah, we don't get too graphic. That could be a bummer. So I know I saw Meow in the chat a little bit ago, um, but I think they're working on something. Or oh, cool. Nope, they're here. Anything. And we also have Ash. Okay, perfect. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? Since Ash comes just before. Wait, Meow. Meow comes just before Ash. We'll do Meows, and then we'll get to Ash.
Right, and Ash says it looks like they're gonna leave and be back. So
Who is?
Ash.
Ash is
So-
going to leave for dinner, and we'll be back within probably about the time of a topic. So-
Perfect, perfect. Thanks, Ash.
It's like we planned. We
Yeah,
knew.
yeah. Thanks for scheduling your dinner sessions around us. We appreciate that. You're the best. Hey Shade, what's up? Yeah. Cool. So, Princess has dropped the link in the chat. If you guys want to click on it and read with us, feel free to do so. This one is titled "Anxiety and School and Sleep." It's from Meow, and Princess will do the honors of reading it for us.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I've been really busy lately with school and marching band, and my anxiety has been really acting up. Because of the extra band practices, I haven't been getting enough sleep each night. Being tired makes stress a lot worse. While at school, I stress about almost everything. Many times it feels like my mind is taking two opposite sides on a decision. I second guess myself a lot and am too hard on myself. I overanalyze things and put too much importance on everything. I constantly ask myself why. I think too hard about the assignments and try too hard to put an answer that I feel like answers the question accurately. I want to talk to people, but I stress too much about it and worry about what they will think, and so I don't do it. There's so much that I could say, but it's pretty hard to explain. I've been falling into a pit of anxiety this week. I haven't really been able to relax or have a true break. My mind is constantly stressing over so many things, and I just don't know what to do. I'm even stressing about making this topic. I'm worried that I left out something important. I think the main things are tiredness, social anxiety, perfectionism, overthinking, sweating the small stuff, and putting too much pressure on myself. And I probably forgot something. I could write for hours about my anxiety, and it still probably wouldn't fully cover it, so I'll just leave it here. I hope this is worded well and makes sense. Any help is appreciated. I've been better lately, but I still have these problems. I'd say that my biggest problem is that sometimes it takes me a while to fall asleep, and sometimes I go to sleep late. Because of 9 a.m. band rehearsal, this causes me to be more tired every day. Any advice for falling asleep would be a big help. Thanks, Meow.
Thanks, Meow. Does it really say 9 a.m. on yours? It says 7 a.m.
Did I say the wrong time? I
Yeah,
said
that's
7.
fine, that's fine.
I said 7 in my head.
Oh, that's funny. You got
apologize.
everything else perfect. I was just like, do I need to refresh this? What happened?
So it's a habit that I don't even realize it. I've said 3 o'clock when in my head I said like noon. I've done
Wow.
all sorts of hours where it's just completely and utterly wrong. Anyway. I
Oh well,
apologize.
hey, that happens. We all have our issues. I'll tell you what. You know many of mine. So, anyways, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Meow. Yeah, I totally understand this. I used to be in marching band. I remember having to go to. I was in jazz band and marching band. I had to go to school at like 5 a.m. And yeah, there was not much sleep to be had. And I've always, throughout my entire childhood, had a very tough time falling asleep. So it was pretty normal for me to get, like 4 hours of sleep or something, or less on a normal school day. Which, yeah, definitely causes a lot of problems. Unlike you, I didn't stress. I just kind of gave up. So I wouldn't recommend it. But that was my experience. Now, saying giving up, I didn't really give up. I still went to school and I did really well on my tests. I just did a really bad job on my homework and it wasn't good. So anyways, I just want to say I can relate to the sleep issues. One thing I just want to say real fast is stay hydrated. If you're going to bed, this is what I've learned about myself. Many of the issues I had falling asleep was that I didn't realize I was dehydrated. So now that I'm an adult and I started drinking just before going to bed, drinking water, uh, just to be clear, drinking water before going to bed, my sleep issues have gone away a lot better, a lot more. Now, when you're stressed, it can be hard to fall asleep because your mind is going a million hours. You can stay away from caffeine and that sort of thing, and that helps. But yeah, just drink something before you go to bed. If you're not doing that already, start doing that. I'll tell you that it does help. And even if you're like, well, if I go to bed and I drink something, I'll have to wake up and go to the bathroom. I've never had that problem ever in my life. But I'll tell you, that's better than not sleeping anyways. So even if you feel like you have to go to bed, it's go to the bathroom. You're gonna wake up and go to the bathroom. It's fine. It's better than not sleeping. So, anyways, that's just one side thing. I was to buy Joe some time to think about the topic. Joe, are you ready?
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's see what comes off of your tongue, man. I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. So.
Yeah, the profound thing that I'm about to say is, it's gonna be weird.
Well, you're starting to be a teacher, so you better have the answer to this. Your other students are suffering with this too, man.
Yeah, no kidding. In terms of like what Ryan was just talking about, the other added benefit of getting hydrated just before you go to the bathroom or just before you go to bed.
Just go to the bathroom.
Gotcha. Just before you go to bed is when you have to wake up, you can't stay in bed because you got to get up and use the restroom. So you can't stay in bed all day. You have to get up.
Yeah.
And so it's an effective tool for both falling asleep and waking up.
That's hilarious, dude.
So it's on both sides. That's my profound thing that I thought of when Ryan was talking. Take it or leave it. No, I first, Meow, thank you for your topic. Thank you for having questions and really searching into yourself. I mean, you talked here about quite a bit, and you thought about, hey, I'm anxious, I have extra band practices, I'm anxious, I have busy school, I'm anxious, I try really hard. I think you're kind of getting to the idea that what seems to be your worries and your troubles. If you go back, I highly recommend this. Anytime you do introspective looking, anytime you journal, anytime you write something that it deals with what you're going through, I highly recommend you read it again in a new light, like a new day, because it can help you understand. Ryan's talked about this many times on the show of the idea of, if you had, like, one of the things you should do is just pose your issue to yourself, because you get to like answer it, and once you start answering it, you're like, oh, I can resolve the issue. Same thing if you just view it in a new light. You come back the next day and you review and you go, oh, okay, that can help me a lot. So I appreciate you going through and writing your question on your own, and then I highly recommend going back and reviewing it so you can say, oh, what is actually going on. Again, getting to kind of what Ryan talked about, we can be very practical on the show, right? Drinking water, the one that I'm going to say that all of my students need to do, and myself. I'm not immune to these issues, right? Like, I stay up too late sometimes too, lots of times. Anyway, I stay up too late sometimes too, and a lot of time, and it's a generational thing. Cell phones, put away your cell phone, turn off your computer. I trust me, it'll work. It feels like really weird. It'll work. It's probably the most effective way to fall asleep. Grab a glass of water, turn off your device, go to bed. And it just works very, very well. In terms of everything else going on, I recommend start with the sleep. As strange as that sounds, I would honestly start with the sleep. We talked about it first, but when you're well rested, things generally just don't worry you as much. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like being rested kind of brings with it a level of peace. a level of calm. And there's science behind that, and I don't know it all, but I'm sure there's plenty of research that indicates that. I'm not going to guess at it, but basically, being well rested is good for you and can help you face some of these issues. What I want to do, again, I'm running through things really quickly so that Ryan can say smart things, but
Nah, man.
I would like to talk to you from the side of a teacher, because um, it'll be helpful for you um, to have that idea of what your teachers are probably thinking from the other side, right? Like, it's very easy to go into class and your teacher is going to be very professional. They're going to put on a face. They're going to say, here's what we have to learn. Here's the topics we have to cover. But there's actually a lot going on behind the scenes. And I learned a lot of that this week because school starts next week for us. Is that, you say something like, I overanalyze things and put too much importance in everything. I constantly ask myself why. I think too hard about the assignments, try too hard to put an answer that I feel like answers the question accurately. In terms of assignment, I try to talk to people but stress too much about what it is and worry what they will think. It's pretty much the same from the other side. When you're writing questions, I need to ask a question that makes kids think about the answer. I need to write a question that I've thought through properly and covers the topics we need to cover and gets the student to think about everything. And it's very easy as a teacher to write a question that makes you overanalyze, because as a teacher, I overanalyzed everything. And so I wrote a question that overanalyzes everything. And so it's okay to talk to your teacher and say, hey, I'm reading your questions and I'm just overthinking them. I'm thinking through things a lot. Can we talk about it? What are you thinking when you're putting together your test? What are you thinking when you're going through these things? Because most of your teachers are actually probably going to be pretty receptive to that. Oh yeah, when I'm trying to put together a test, here's what I'm thinking. Here's my process. Here's what I'm trying to do. Because I'll be honest, if a student came up to me and said, hey, what are you trying to teach us and why are you trying to teach it that way? I'd be astounded, but two, I'd be like, here, let me show you. Like, I want you to learn it, right? Like, how better to teach you than for you to come ask me what you're trying to learn and then me to try to explain it to you at a much more baseline level. So I highly recommend that. And don't, all of that comes into, you say all of this is going to help you deal with the anxiety portion that you're talking about, which I think, based on what I'm reading, is the more overarching problem you're facing, right? So you have sleep. Sleep can help with anxiety, and that's kind of a patchwork against it. But that seems to be some of the issue that you're having is you even write you're sweating the small stuff. So by engaging your teacher, who is legally required to answer your question, you don't have to be anxious, right? Like they have to. Like there isn't anything on the other side. They have to give you an answer, and it has to be a dang good answer because they legally are required to. Let that put you at ease. Let it be. Hey, I'm working on trying to deal with my anxiety. And if that includes talking to people, I'm going to talk to somebody who's forced to talk to me. Maybe it starts there. But I'm going to be honest with you. As much as I'm required to talk to students, I really, truly enjoy it. It's not stressful. It's not supposed to be anxiety inducing. It's supposed to be enjoyable. Learning is supposed to be fun. Band, at the end of the day, is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that's creative. Make some kind of joyful noise, hopefully joyful noise, and let it be loud to the world. All of these things can bring you joy, and it's about kind of reaching into, okay, how am I going to start doing some of these things? Because once you start to do some of the things, I think you'll see yourself kind of relinquish some of the anxiety. I think once you start to have a situation that resolves itself well, the anxiety starts to come back, right? Because anxiety comes a lot from the unknown. You know, it's for lack of a better thing, it's kind of fear of you know, if I don't answer, I don't know if I'm going to answer this question perfectly. I don't know how people are going to react to what I say. I don't know how things are going to work out in my life. Anxiety dwells on the I don't know. So by asking those questions, by just starting a little bit, it's going to actually start to work against your anxiety. So it's tough, but you asked this question, and that's a start. So I hope that as a beginning, some of this starts to go away for you. You can feel a little at ease. You can feel, peace, and that might help you sleep too. So without further ranting and gallivanting and standing on a soapbox and falling off, I'm going to pass over to Ryan.
Great. So that I can stand on a soapbox and fall off. Nice,
Yep.
man. Good moves. So yeah, no, that was really great. And one thing that came to my mind while you were saying that is there's a chance that Meow I don't know if you're more task oriented or people oriented. It doesn't really matter, but one possibility is that the reason you're stressed is because you're being put into a situation where you're thinking about something that doesn't compel you. What I mean is this. Joe was giving the idea of getting to kind of know your teachers, right? And know where they're coming from. It's a lot easier for me to learn from someone that I have a relationship with, right? Than it is for me to learn from someone I don't know. That's not true for everybody. And that's not true all the time, right? There are certain cases where I don't know somebody and they say something that's profound, like on a tape, CD, or TED video. Sorry, tape. You guys don't even know. Anyways, I'm just kidding. So you guys have listened to tapes. Anyways. Anyways. So sometimes you can learn from those like third party situations. But there are other times, like when you're in a class every single day, I found myself stressing a lot less and learning a lot more from teachers I felt closer to, from teachers I respected more, from teachers I liked more. If I felt the teacher liked me, I liked them more, right? And if they liked me, it made the whole class a lot easier. Because I'm a people person, and that's sort of what drove me to be a good student. The tasks, they never drove me to be good at them. The tasks were just something I had to do, and they were annoying. Until I became friends with the teacher. If I became friends with the teacher, all of a sudden, the tasks were something that they were asking me to do personally, and I was okay with. Because I wanted to be good for them. Right? And so what compels me inside was my people skills, or my people interactions, or the human beings behind the tasks, not the tasks themselves. It wasn't the study. It wasn't the information that I was learning that compelled me. It wasn't geology or geography or anything that made me go, oh, I really want to learn this. For me, it was always, oh, this teacher's really cool. What are they telling me? Oh, that's super cool. That's kind of how it is for me. Now, that might not be the case for you, but if it is, if you think maybe that could be the case, get to know your teachers better. Yeah? And I know that's not always the option. If you live in a really public school and there's lots of kids, it can be very hard to get your teacher's attention, to get to know them, to come to like them, right? Some teachers, they're just not likable from where you are. And it's not because they're bad people, but it could be because they have bad people skills. I've known a lot of teachers with bad people skills, and you think, why are you in teaching? And it's because they like the thing that they're teaching, and they want other kids to like it too. right? And there's nothing wrong with it. That's a great reason. You want to share the information. But that can be really hard if the student on the other side that's trying to learn it is a people person. And they don't care about the thing that you're trying to teach them, and they care about you, and you're not letting them in to get to know you, right? So if you feel like that might be you, get to know the teacher. It'll make the workload a lot better of an experience, and when the experience is better, it's not as stressful. It's just the way it is. Because what is stress? It's basically the reaction to a perception, right? Many things are. Stress is an emotion, and emotions are reactions, and they're based on our perceptions, right? So if you can change your perception, you can change what emotion happens, right? And stress is a reaction. It's an emotion. Now, we can't always have control over our emotions, but we can try to change our perceptions about things. And this is one way to change your perception about the work that you have to do that's causing you stress, right? Having to go, okay, I have to get up really early in the morning to go to marching band. You're kind of focusing on the fact that you're not getting enough sleep, and that's causing you to be stressed about the activity because what's on your mind is a negative thing. Your mind is kind of absorbed into this negative sense. If you can, this negative perception of the whole thing, even though you probably like marching band, you enjoy the activity, you enjoy, maybe the songs. When it comes together, it's cool. Maybe doing it is maybe a bit stressful, but when it all comes together, oh, that was awesome. We just did great, right? And if you can get the end picture in mind, it makes the process of going through it a lot easier, right? So similarly, if you can find areas, and now you like to do a lot of self-examination. I love that about you, Meow. Keep that up. You like to do a lot of self-examination. So try to find those areas where you might be able to change your perception of something from a negative to a positive, from a current now in the struggle of now to the future's going to be awesome, right? Try to shift the way that you perceive things, or even, hey, this isn't so bad. I can do this. It's simple. It's just one step, and then another step, and then one other little step over here. And you just take it one step at a time. That usually reduces stress too, right? Taking things one step at a time and just not worrying about the whole thing. Not trying to look at the whole picture. Just go, what can I do right now? Okay, I can do this. So let's just do that. And then when that's out of the way, you're like, whew, that's out of the way. Sweet. All right. What's left? What's the next thing? Not what's left, because then your mind's going to go, oh, all of this. Oh, I did nothing. No, you just go, okay, what can I do next? And then you do that, right? So you can sort of change the way your mind is pathed to look at things so that the stress is less. And that's really all I got on that issue. But I do have a little bit more on anxiety. Anxiety will cause you stress. Again, stress is a reaction. It's an emotion. Anxiety is huge. We live in a world where everybody has anxiety, and and it's terrible. It should not be. Somewhere along the lines, I think something went wrong with humanity and our culture, and now everybody has anxiety, and it's not good. And we have to, as a culture, get to the root of that and start to solve that, because that seems to me to be a very big deal that's starving millions of people. And so anxiety is an important thing that we need to solve in ourselves, right? So we can start helping the world resolve it for them as well. And we can compel other people to resolve their anxiety. Now, there's clinical anxiety, right? Which is caused usually by something inside not working correctly, right? But even that has ways to reduce it without even medication, because clinical anxiety just builds on top of the other anxiety, which is not clinical anxiety. It's, I don't know what they call it, just regular anxiety. I'm sure it has a name. But when you have clinical anxiety, then the other anxiety just builds up on top of it. But you can reduce that other anxiety and get back down to just clinical. And that's not so bad because you can take medication for that, right? But you can't take medication to resolve the other anxiety. You can, but it's not for the long run. It just comes back heavier and heavier and heavier until it eats you despite all the medication. Okay? So it's important to start working on that anxiety if you can. So I think it's important to identify what is anxiety, right? Anxiety is a lot of times fear of the unknown. Joe said not knowing a lot of times is why you have anxiety. But here's the thing. In this world, the unknowns are the beautiful thing. You know, when I play a video game, generally what pumps me up is the unknown. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? You know, oh, I wonder about this. I wonder about that. You know, sometimes it's a story. You're like, oh, wonder what's going to happen next. Wonder what's going to happen next. Or it's going to be like, oh, wait, this skill does what? I want to get that skill and see what it does. Like, and I want to try to use it. And am I going to be good at it? Oh, that skill was not what I was thinking. Okay, let's try a different skill. You know, and it's that wonder, right? So if we can change fear to wonder, again, it's only perception. If we can change that from fear to wonder, suddenly we have a new way to look at the world. And instead of being anxious in a bad way where it's like, anxiety attack, all I can do now is stand still, we become anxious in another way, which means to be excited about it. You know, I'm really anxious to go on this roller coaster. And it doesn't mean, oh, I'm really scared. It means, oh, I really want to know what happens. I really want to experience it, right? I just can't sit still about this. You know, Joe Anderson has said many times, the stimulus to fear, the chemical that's released in your brain for this anxiety of fear is the same exact one that is released for excitement. When you're like on a roller coaster or you're just the thrill, right? The thrill, I guess, is a good word for it. And so it's the same chemical. We're just taking it from either a negative or a positive, right? Are we going to go, you know, and I'm not trying to say get rid of all negative in your life. That'd be a bad idea. Negative stuff helps us move forward too, right? Our suffering helps us to love. Our negative stuff helps us to rationalize and figure out what the best next step is. These are good things. And I'm not trying to say, just be positive all the time. No. What I am saying is to, if you're feeling anxious, take that as an opportunity to feel wonder. Because here's the thing. Like you said, you stress and you sweat the small stuff. I've found in my life that I've come to trust myself enough that no matter what happens, I realize basically it's not even trust in myself. It's trust in God that, hey, no matter what happens, I'm kind of just going to be okay. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get through it. I lose my house. Okay. Let's say that happens. You know, something really bad happens, house fire or something. I've been through that. I've literally been through that. When I was 12 years old, my house burnt down to the ground. Nothing left. Everything that was in the house was so charred with smoke, you could smell it even today, it's been over 15 years. More, definitely more. And it still smells of char, of anything that we've got out of the house, right? House burnt down to the ground. And I was with my mom and my brother, and we figured it out, right? My mom figured it out mostly, but I survived that. In fact, I was in the house. I was the only one in the house when it was on fire. And when I realized it was on fire, I was coming up from the basement. I was like, wow, this smells like burnt cookies. What is going on? And I look up and I see nothing. I can't see because the smoke is so thick and dense. I actually took the time to put my hand in front of my face and went like this to see where it disappeared. And it disappeared this close to my face. That's how thick the smoke was. That thick. where I couldn't even see that my hand that fat close to my face. It was on the house. It was on fire for a while, right? So I got out of there. I called the dog. The dog actually got out too, which was great. And so yeah. Anyways, you know what happened too? I walked out into 3 feet of fresh snow with no shoes or socks on in pajama pants. And you know me, I have this thing with this condition where cold equals pain. My brain does the circuitry weird, and when I experience something that's cold, it actually just turns immediately into pain. And so that was my experience when I was 12. I got through that. I had plenty of bullies at the time. I got through that, right? I'm okay. I'm alive today, and I'm well. I'm doing great. I've come to trust that, hey, no matter what happens in life, it doesn't really matter if it's negative, if it's a bad thing that happens, because somehow something good is always made from it. Good is always made from the bad. So if I trust in that, if I submit to that idea fully, how can I ever be anxious? I'm almost never anxious about anything except for a couple of things like human interactions. But most of the time, if I think about it, those anxious thoughts go away because I realize like, hey, if I mess it up, oh well. What can I do? If it was gonna get messed up ever, then why not right now? You know, if they can't handle me at my worst, you know, and this is my worst, which is pretty good. If they can't handle, if I say the wrong thing and they just leave me, then okay, oh well, my life continues without them. And I have plenty of chances to do a lot of good in this world, regardless of whatever happened in that scenario. Right? It might stink. It's like, okay, yeah, that stinks. That's a low blow, but whatever. Right? I get to continue. What am I gonna do? So anxiety just kind of flees. Just trusting that, hey, it doesn't really matter. So I took that to the extreme, and I trained myself by taking it to the extreme. I would walk up to people and say the most bizarre things ever to see what happens. I tell this story, it's hilarious. I was in the hall at school just with a group of my friends, and I had a sandwich, and I didn't care to finish it. It was like half of a sandwich. It was cut in half, and I was like, I have a sandwich here, and I'm like, well, I didn't finish at lunch. I'm not gonna finish it. And you know, I'm just talking with my friends, and this random girl starts walking by, just among many other people, and I grabbed her hand, and I knelt down, and I said, and I had my hand behind my back with the sandwich in it, and I said, I'm sorry, this is probably really embarrassing, but I saw you, and it just got to me, and I just want to ask, will you eat the rest of my sandwich? And I was kneeling down as if I was going to propose to her, and she was flush. You know, she was so embarrassed. It was hilarious. Poor girl, and I'm sorry for her. But when I revealed the sandwich, she couldn't do anything but laugh, you know, and just like, oh my gosh. And then she walked away completely embarrassed. And I'm sorry. But my point is, I started doing things like that all the time in school. Just having the strangest interactions with people, like coming up to them with the weirdest questions and just seeing what happens. Forcing situations into the most awkward things that could possibly happen. Just be like, yes, I made this awkward. I am the best. So, you know, I'm just like, yes, this is great. Okay. I did all of that, and there was an insane amount of it. And I trained myself to realize there is never a reason to be anxious over a social situation. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Things get awkward. And I trained myself to be good at being calm in those scenarios. Like, it's probably through that which I became able to, you know, I was doing inspections, which is a job that Joe Anderson used to do, or is doing right now. Used to do inspections, and, you know, I've said this before, we got into really tight situations sometimes where people come out with weapons. They're like angry, you know? And I would just be just put my chest towards them flat with a relaxed position and be like, yeah, hey, how's it going? Yeah, just, and, you know, I'd let them be angry for a little bit. I'd remain calm. And then I'd walk up to them peacefully. And eventually they would just start to calm down like I was. Because how you the way that you treat people is kind of how they become a lot of times. And so I just treated them as if there was no issue at all, because there wasn't. And then I told them, yeah, I'm really sorry. I hate to do this because I understand what you're in, and what you're saying makes complete sense. I'm just the messenger, you know, and I'm just here to take some pictures. But if you don't want me to, actually, I could just tell them, hey, they didn't want me to do it. And they're like, really? You can do that? I'm like, yeah, I'll just tell them I didn't take pictures because you asked me not to. And they said, cool. Yeah, no, please don't take pictures, you know? And that was that, right? It was very easy for me to handle those scenarios because there was never a reason to be anxious. In fact, the less anxious I was, the better the scenario went for me. So I encourage you, try to take up that mentality of realizing all good can become, all bad can be made good. And all good can be made bad, honestly. But you have to trust, I guess, that things are going to be okay. And they are. What's the worst that's going to happen? You die. Oh well. You know? That's kind of okay. You know, because if you've lived your life well, meow, I'm guessing you have, you get to go to heaven. Well, it's not so bad. You know, that's pretty great. It's pretty great. So, I mean, there's things like, oh, my arm got blown off. Like, okay, that does stink, but still, good can come out of that, believe it or not. So, just, there's no reason to be anxious most of the time. Just do what you can do. Take the actions you can take. And whatever happens, happens. There's no reason to get worked up about it. Whatever happens, happens. Your anxiety has no bearing on it, other than holding you back. So don't hold yourself back anymore. If you're socially anxious, don't hold yourself back. Throw yourself into it. And teach anxiety a lesson. Honestly. Because that's how you lose your anxiety, is you start facing your fears. And when you face them, that's where you grow. And so once you start to grow, you realize, and you have so much strength built up that you're like, nothing's going to knock me down. What am I scared about? If something knocks me down, I get back up. So whatever, you know? But generally things go okay. A lot of times our fears never come into fruition. So yeah, I talked about that for a long time, but it's to get a really important point across, because our world suffers from a great deal of anxiety. And that fear is owning us as a human race. And we need to kind of own it, or else things aren't going to get better. They're just going to get worse, you know? So, meow, set an example for everybody else, because everyone else around you probably has social anxiety too, as well as other kind of anxieties. Probably like 90% of your class has anxiety. So someone needs to set an example. When I was setting that example in my high school, people were surprisingly starting to follow me. I started to get a lot of people that are just like wanted to be around me all the time that I didn't even know before. And it attracted a lot of people, and they started to grow from my experiences. And I'm not saying I'm all that in a bag of chip and I led them. No, all I did was I was an example, and then they did all the hard work themselves. They started to do the same things. They started to go through that process of bettering themselves, you know? And Meow, I gotta hand it to you. You've always been here at Don't Worry Wednesday, bettering yourself and looking for how to improve. And I think that's so awesome. So keep it up. But anyways, Joe, I'm gonna give it back over to you. Do you have anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, you don't have to fear any of the social awkwardness. Ryan's taken it all, and given it to all his poor victims. I mean, to all his
Yeah.
friends. No, one of the things Ryan's kind of getting at is, there are going to be awkward things, and there's going to be unawkward things, and accepting that is on you, right? Like Ryan just forced himself into the situations. You don't have to force yourself in those situations, but they're just going to come about. Um, it just kind of happens. You can't stay away from it forever. Things are going to happen to you in life, whether you choose them or not. What we encourage you, part of don't worrying, not being anxious, is just an acceptance of whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
I think other Joe. I'm gonna try to emulate other Joe here for a few moments. Talked about just imagine the worst case scenario, and then if it happens, I mean, you've already planned for it, and if it's better than that, then you were planned for something worse. One of the things is just be content. Be content with the worst case. Be content with the best case. To learn to kind of train yourself to be at peace with a whole lot of things, and that's going to go a long way. And this isn't us saying like you have to do this right now, like get your life in order, young man, or else. It's us saying, hey, things are going to happen. You're going to be anxious. Things are going to come up again. That's okay. That's okay. That's part of learning and growing and becoming a mature adult. And so we just want to kind of give you a path, right? So if let's say you have anxiety, or you're facing a lot of anxiety for the first time, if you don't have a path to go, you just kind of like, guess I get to be anxious for life. And we're here to say, actually, you can go another way, right? There's something that you can do with the anxiety that you face, because like Ryan said, we all get anxious. There's the clinical anxiety, which not all of us have, but everyone has a level of anxiety. I'm a teacher. I get anxious. I still can't speak in front of people. I remember last year they had me give some awards to some students that I taught while I was subbing. And that was horrifying. I still can't stand in front of an auditorium full of people, but it happens. Anxiety just kind of happens. And as you learn to deal with it, you can turn it into either a good thing or a bad thing. Like Ryan was talking about, good can become bad, bad can become good. It's kind of just where you set yourself to go. So, but really, Meow, you posted the question. You've started dealing with that idea, and that in and of itself is a great place to start. So, make sure you're getting some sleep. Drink that water. Don't pee yourself, and because maybe do,
Yeah.
and then you've got the awkwardness taken care of.
I love it.
So. Wow,
Well,
not a thing I thought I was
it's the
gonna
greatest,
say.
guys. If you haven't done it, no, just kidding.
Yeah, it's nice and warm and wake up. All right, things I didn't think I was going to say on the show today.
Things I didn't think I was gonna say. Check.
Yep.
Peeing the bed is great.
Anyway, you just kind of deal with it, right? Get hydrated, turn off your devices, get some rest, and face the challenges that each day has. And I can tell you right now, just by getting that rest and facing each new day with its things, you will do very, very well. So I'm non-verbally being yelled at right now. So Ryan, back to you. Take it away, please.
It's my fault that you're not verbally being yelled at. I'm the one that took forever to say what I was trying to say. You summed it up in like four seconds. So I should confront you before I do this show about all the things that I have to say, and you'll give me the short versions of it. That'd be great. So anyways, yeah, thank you so much, Meow. We love you. Thank you. Like you've given us so much content to talk about. And it's not because you're so messed up, but you're so open and you're so reflective. And that really is just such a blessing. So thank you so much for being on our show, so much. And please keep on coming. We love to have you here, and you have a lot of great things to say. So thank you. We love you. You're awesome. Let's go on to Ashes. Ash is here. Yeah. So, I know that Amira posted one, but Princess was doing well already with solving it. I saw. So Amira, if Princess is, I would say the same thing Princess said, honestly. But we could. I don't know if we wrote that one down or not, but we can get to that one next time.
I hadn't, but if you need me to do so, Amira, or you would like me to do so, I would be more than happy to do so.
Perfect.
Also, the chat really, 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 really wants to know, Ryan, did the girl eat the sandwich?
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. This one's from Ash. It's titled no, she didn't accept my sandwich. Um I had to Ryan answer. Jeez. Yeah, she didn't accept the sandwich. I ended up taking it home. So it was a bummer. Her loss. Not every girl's that you come, you're gonna ask a lot of girls to eat a lot of sandwiches in life, and not every one of them's gonna hear your plead. So it's just the way life is. It's okay. Anyways, anyways, this is from Ash. It is titled Communication, and Princess, I think, yep, I already gave the link. If you guys want to click that, you can read along. So Princess is gonna read it for us. Thank you.
So cool.
You are very welcome. Hello, friends. I have yet another topic, so I'll get right to it. I used to be talking with my boyfriend for hours on end, nearly every minute of every day, whether it be through call, text, email, etc. But lately, we've barely talked. I don't know if it's just because he's been busy or if he doesn't want to talk to me, but I don't know what to say or ask or if I should even say anything at all. I know that communication is key in relationships, and that's why I'm worried. I know that it could be just nothing, but it's not the same when I'm not talking to him. Everything is just gray and dull. I would like it if he could try and be better at responding, but I worry that'll sound rude. The other day was his first day of school. I understand why he didn't want to talk after, since he was worn out, but I still feel like I did something wrong, even though he told me that I didn't do anything. I've been playing a lot of VR lately, and it's a nice distraction. However, when I get off, everything is gray and dull, and I'm lonely again. Talking to my friends doesn't really help, and I only really feel truly happy when I'm talking to Cadence, even if it isn't on call or in person. Since school started for him, we really only have been talking only about 20 minutes or so throughout the day, maybe 30 to 60 at night. I also feel bad for keeping him up at night since he told me he had the goal to go to bed at 9, but had failed. I told him that I was really depressed from just about everything going on, including my previous topic getting my hopes up. He told me, I love you, and I don't want to lose you. Know that no matter how far apart we are, or how long we don't talk, I will always be there for you. And that has been my motivation. When I first read it, I started crying just because it was really sweet of him, and he's not the type to say those kinds of things. Thank you guys for taking your time to help all of us with our problems as well. You guys are amazing. I'm sure you already know that, and it's really kind of you to help us out. Love you guys. Ash.
Thanks, Ash. You're awesome, and we love you. And thank you for all the kind things that you do for others. Right off the bat, all you can do is trust. A lot of times, you can always ask, but he already kind of gave you his answer. For this is that, even if you guys don't talk for very, very long, or there are even like a month of not talking, he's going to be there for you. He loves you, and that's not something that he doesn't want to lose you, etc. And I would trust those words. That's all you can do. I mean, otherwise, what do? You put yourself in a situation where you don't trust him, and that's not going to be good for your relationship, right? So I would say right off the bat, just do try to trust him. This is a really good topic. This is a really good topic for a lot of different reasons. And Joe, being married, probably has a lot of good things to say. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to say. And so I'm going to get out of the way and let him do the talking.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks, Ryan. I am married. I have the ring.
I'm not.
My wife's downstairs. That's the wrong finger.
That's exactly why I said I'm not. The wrong hand, even, I think.
Thanks for sharing your topic, Ash. And thanks for sharing lots of things. Again, anytime that you've got a lot going on, I think for a lot of us, we want to just limit ourselves to having like one issue. Like, people can know about this one issue of mine. I'm okay with that. But let's be honest, we all have quite a few. Life isn't exactly clean all the time. So we appreciate you sharing what you do, and helping other people out. It's great to see you in chat and just being a part of this. So, hi, Psyche. Anyway, so we've got a lot to unpack here, and I want to talk. We covered it a little bit before, but I want to go back to it because I think it's really, really important, and it'll help your relationships, all of them. It's this idea of um, not relying on someone else for your happiness. You make this comment. I know it could just be nothing, but it's not the same when I'm talking to him. Everything is just dull and gray. I think, ironically enough, last time I was here, there was another comment that made the same kind of analogy, and we dealt with that. The world is actually a very bright and vibrant place. Just because you notice that when you're talking with the person doesn't mean that it's not that way all the time. And it's important to not put that joy or that responsibility on the other person, um, for many reasons. I talked earlier about how my wife and I, very early on, said that um, we shouldn't be responsible for each other's happiness. Now, what I didn't tell everyone early on is that for a time I did, and for a time, my wife and I were broken up, um, and that was very dark time for me, very hurt time. But it led to a lot of growth. And during that time, I kept coming back to this idea of being content, um, in everything is difficult, but a place you want to get to. When I was broken up with my wife, um, I was praying, reading my Bible a lot, and I had spare time to really consider what was going on within me. And one of the things that I came to notice, was that I wasn't content as myself. Um, and I made that fact known to her. And at the time, we were broken up, and I told her, thank you. Thank you for we had dated for like 3 years at that time. I'm like, regardless of, I was still trying to, get back together with her, which you can figure out whether or not that happened based on uh, clues. But the the thing was, I called her and I said, "Hey, look, I'm just grateful for those 3 years. Like, regardless of which way things go, I'm grateful for the time that we had. I'm thankful for that. That was amazing. Whether it ends or it continues, that was fun and joyful. Um, even when we had tough conversations. And I think that for you, I want you to find that. You know, I want you to find that place because it doesn't diminish your relationship, right? The idea that they aren't responsible for your happiness, the idea that, even though he says, "I love you and I don't want to lose you," and no matter how far apart we are and we don't talk, I'll always be there for you. Uh, if you were okay with that not being true, that doesn't diminish your relationship. It doesn't make it any less powerful, any less meaningful. In fact, it builds the relationship. It kind of releases you both to be more open, to be a deeper relationship with each other, and that's a good thing. So, I mean, it looks like you've kind of dealt with this already. You've kind of started to talk with him about how you're feeling, and that's a great thing. And so, I recommend, hey, find a place that really, um, you can set yourself at peace. You can be comfortable with where uh, your relationship goes or does not go, and that will be just as good for you, if not better. So, um, you're amazing. You've got a lot here, and I'm coming at it from a perspective of things that have happened in my life. You know, uh, I've had a lot of situations, but they're different, right? And your situation is yours. So that's why I say find peace with where you are, because Joe Schmo on the internet doesn't know everything about you, but you do, and you can come to those conclusions on your own. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for um, you know your contributions here. I think it's just wonderful to have somebody who's willing to be here and participate and share things that sometimes are not easy. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Ryan, who has wisdom, ideas, beautiful hair,
Thank you.
plenty of other things.
I'm gonna give it over actually to someone else who has wisdom, ideas, and beautiful hair. Especially on that last one. Her name is Princess. She's going to. She said she had something that she wanted to talk about on the topic. So, I'm excited to hear what it is.
Much like Joe in his own way, having personal experience with this, I also have experience with this, perhaps from a different angle. Uh, I'm someone who very much likes to talk. Sometimes at nearly every bit of the day, doing a sort of thing where it'd be like, I message, "Hi, how's it going? What's up?" I'll just keep blabbing on and on. Um, and I'll do it even if I don't get a response back. uh, but I know the feeling of wanting to talk to someone who's very important to you, and you were talking at one point like every day or a whole bunch. And then, things don't always continue that path. And I know that for me, it was hard because this individual sometimes would, miss messages in there because I wrote so much, and it was hard because it was like, well, is this person just intentionally not seeing it? Or if it's been a few days, they don't go back and answer the question. It's like, what? Why not? But keep in mind that people communicate in different ways and at their own beat. For this person, they tend to see what's in the moment of what they see, and they respond very lovingly with that. And it's great. But, if they miss something or if they aren't perfect, you can either ask again or you can just be okay with it, because it's okay if there isn't constant, absolute communication, because that's not a good thing. You can't constantly be next to somebody 24/7, 7 days a week, the whole year being like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going?" And I'm not saying that you're doing that by any means, but I'm also saying that it's okay to have distance between when you talk. And that, it's, even if they are busy, when they see it, they'll probably respond to you. And it's okay to have the patience to wait. And it's okay to have the patience if they don't see it, and just, keep moving forward. That doesn't mean that your communication is broken. It means that your communication is working if you guys are communicating. And if something's not being communicated, you can do that then. But, I know for me as well, another thing is my poor dad. I am not very good at communicating with him after I go to a long drive to get home, because he never gets a text from me that he's wondering, did my daughter get home safely, or is she somewhere? Did she get kidnapped? Is she on the side of the road with a broken tire? Normal dad worries, I suppose. But, it's like, as much as I try to say that I'll be better next time or I'll do my best, sometimes that's just how things are. And that doesn't have to make it bad. Just because someone isn't going to be able to communicate with you instantly every day of the week, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes it's the way people communicate, and learning to accept that and work with it is my best advice on the strategy. Is if things have changed and he doesn't have as much time, if you want to say specific things or you feel like you're running out of time, try, if you have a little extra time, write a little note to yourself about things you wanted to do or things you want to say. And if you don't have things, I'm sure there's plenty of resources on the internet of either random things you can ask someone, or you can go with like, how's it going? And if they respond, try to pick off of something that they say. And if they don't say anything, like another friend that I have, is very hard to get like any sort of things. It's like, how's it going? Good. What'd you do today? Stuff.
Good.
Work. It's like, oh, come on, give me something to work with, please. Because you want to talk, but it's like, well, sometimes I don't really know what to say or how to do it. And, and it's okay if you don't have something in specific to say. And it's also okay if you want to be like donuts. And you just leave it at that, and you have them ask you, like, why or what, or get them engaged in something. Or if there's something going on, like a big event, try to write those things down as notes. So like, oh yeah, I remember you were working on this big project, right? How's it going? You enjoying it? Are you stuck on anything? Or, and again, keep it tempered to the person and how you know them about what they prefer to be asked and how they prefer to answer things. I know, like, saying, how are you is not always the best way to communicate with someone. It's like, what's something you really enjoyed today? Or maybe it's, tell me something you did today. Or, there's other ways you can go about asking questions. I apologize. At the top of my head, I can't think of a grand example. But sometimes it's learning how to ask things worded differently in a way that makes the person feel comfortable with the communication, that they'll open up more easily for them. I don't really know how to segue out of this, so I'll just ask for a line.
Oh, perfect.
That's all I got.
Yeah, no, that's so super true, Princess. Like another example of some people, they don't really want to talk about most things relating to their life, but they don't mind talking about something that they're passionate about. So it could be something weird, like, hey, I got a weird math question for you. Do you have some time? And that could totally go like, seriously? Yeah, what's your question? I'm smart, like, yeah, let's do this. Or hey, I was thinking about that game we were playing the other day, and I was like wondering, what do you think about this concept? Or I was thinking about blah blah blah. So sometimes it's not always going to be engaging to them to ask them how their day was or ask them a specific thing about their day. Sometimes it's going to be ask them about something else relating to an activity or statistics on something. For example, Joe, if I wanted to engage in conversation with him, I would probably start to talk about statistics. I would be like, so tax season is coming around. How many people, blah, 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 right? And then could you tell me more about that? And then he would dig right in, right? It's a good conversation starter to recognize there are things you don't know about a certain subject, and they would love to teach you. So sometimes that can be a really good way to get into a conversation, as Princess was saying. But yeah, thanks so much, Princess. And yeah, I mean, as you started off, you don't always have to be engaged with somebody in conversation to feel like you're together. I recently adopted, no, I'm just kidding. I recently got a girlfriend, so I am no longer single. I don't know, she might be with us in the chat. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. But anyways, she usually does stop by for Don't Worry Wednesday for a little while, usually all of it. But anyways, yeah, there are times when I am not saying anything and she's not saying anything. I just know that we're both kind of there she is. Hi, love you. So there are times like we would be playing a video game together and nothing would be being said, and we were like sitting in the video game doing nothing, just looking at each other. And at that moment, I feel wonderfully engaged with her, right? I don't need her to say anything, and I don't need to say anything, right? There are many people in this world where it's like, oh, nothing is being said, so that must be a problem. But you get to a point in your relationship, in all relationships, where honestly it's just having that person's existence in your life, whether you're talking to them or not, is really beautiful to you, and you don't need more than that, right? As Joe was saying, in your relationship, the other person isn't there to make you happy, right? They're there to be your companion, right? That's an entirely different thing. They're not there to make you happy. They're there to be your companion. If you want happiness, I understand. Like when you're around them, yeah, it's all butterflies and sunshine. It feels awesome, right? But there will come a day where it doesn't feel that way, even when you're with them. Are you happy on that day? You should be. You should be. Because, again, happiness a lot of times comes from self-satisfaction. Are you satisfied with who you are as a human being, right? And if you're looking at the world wanting the world to make you satisfied with yourself, that's never going to happen. It just isn't. Your loved one can, at times, make you very happy. But if you rely on them for that, it's going to be a tough deal. That's going to be a really tough relationship. And as Joe said, that's a lot of responsibility that you're giving them that they shouldn't have. That's kind of pushing your responsibilities onto them and saying, hey, I can't make myself happy anymore. That's your deal now. And it's your fault if I'm not happy anymore. Right? That's not fair. That's not okay. I wouldn't want my girlfriend to say, hey, it's your job to make me happy. And if I'm unhappy, it's your fault. Right? Like, okay, game over then. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. I'm barely strong enough to lift me up. How am I supposed to lift up her as well? I can try, but not all the time. So I rely on her to make her happy, and I rely on me to make me happy. And together, right, we can be happy together and great companions, but it's not because we're expecting each other to make each other happy. We have to know, like, hey, if we don't talk for a week, right, that's not going to change our relationship. Right? Our relationship doesn't just diminish because we've not talked. Right? Because why should it? Why should I allow it to? You know, conversation is a beautiful thing, and we have to have that, right? It's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to always have that conversation going. But if you don't, that's okay. I love what your boyfriend said to you. You know, like, hey, I'm here for you, even if we're not talking. I'm not gonna just disappear. You know, I'm yours, right? And I think that's all you need to know, right? Because the thing is, there will come a time in your life, many times, where you feel like you've exhausted every avenue of conversation, and you're gonna be left alone with nothing to say. And there's nothing to fill that void. There's no activity, no entertainment. There's no, like, a lot of times people fall in love with each other because they're into the same activity. I know that I had a priest that was talking about doing marriage counsel. And one thing was, like, his pet peeve was when a couple would come in and he would ask them about the relationship, and they would say, oh, you know, we met. We're into the same thing. So we're both, like, really into skiing, and we just clicked, and, you know, she completes me. And then the girl would say the same thing, like, oh yeah, he completes me. He always, you know, we enjoy these activities together. We're into the same things, blah, blah, blah. And to him, that was like a big red flag. A big red flag. Because to him, that was like, okay, when the day comes that you're not into the same thing, or when the day comes when, you know, you're working like almost 24/7 and you don't have time for entertainment together, does your relationship fall apart? Is your relationship only there because you're having fun with them? That's a big red flag, right? And so, Ash, I invite you to seize this opportunity to prove that you're not in it for the fun. You're in it for them. Because as life goes on and he gets busy and you get busy, you know, you're busy right now, but there are going to be weeks where it's just busy, 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 and the only time you have to talk is just to say goodnight. And, you know, there's not going to be entertainment or fun. There's not going to be anything to stimulate your serotonin in your brain. That sense of excitement and love. There's nothing exciting in your relationship going on. And that's going to come. And that might be right now. Embrace it. And prove to him that you're there not for the fun. You're there for him. Right? Because that's how a real relationship proves itself. And the reason that was of course, that's a big red flag to the priest, because he's like, okay, do they know that it's not all about fun? Because it's going to come when they're not having fun anymore. There's going to come a time when they're angry at each other and it's not fun. And what do they do then? You know? And so in marriage prep, he's trying to help these people out. And the whole idea of like, he completes me, you know, that's really rough because, again, as I was saying before, that's putting a lot of pressure on the other person, saying, hey, you have to make me happy. And if I'm not happy, it's your fault, right? That's not okay. That's not okay to do to someone. So I'm just seconding Joe in that. You know, you have to make sure that your world is not dull and gray without him, right? So if your world is dull and gray without him, that's not the fault of your relationship falling apart. That's not the fault of your relationship with him in any way or any capacity. It has almost nothing to do with that. So if you're experiencing the world around you as dull and gray, you need to work on that separately from your relationship. And your relationship can help you through that. Because, you know, no matter what, at the end of the day, he's going to love you. If you get something wrong, he's going to be there for you. And that's a wonderful and comforting thing. But don't ever, 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 ever allow the relationship to make you complacent. Complacent, look it up. If you don't know the definition of complacent, look it up for a better definition on Google. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's when you are satisfied with if you look at your relationship and you're satisfied with your relationship and you feel like, oh, it doesn't matter if I improve as a person anymore because he loves me no matter what. So I don't have to improve. So I'm just going to kind of sit here and not and get worse and worse and worse as a human being because he's going to love me anyway. So who cares? Let me tell you, I have had many relationships like that. I have. It is not good. I've seen the end of them. One of them is the only relationship I ever dumped a girl because I recognized what was going on. And the reason I recognized it is because the first two husbands my mom had did that to her. And it was awful. She married them. After about a year, they quit their jobs. She worked her butt off and paid for everything while they sat at home watching TV, going out and drinking at bars. Okay? That is awful. You don't want to become that person. And that's only an example of what that person. Sometimes that person just looks like a mean grouch, right? It could be anything. But don't ever allow that feeling of security to turn you off from self-growth. Because the moment you do that, the moment happiness is no longer an option. Okay? You have to work on yourself. And Ash, I know that's kind of harsh for me to say that directly to you, but I know you're awesome. And you've been here and you have a great personality and you have a personality that says, you know what? I'm going to face the challenges. Otherwise you wouldn't post on Don't Worry Wednesday. I know you're going to face the challenges that are in front of you. Work on turning your world from dull and gray to real. Because there's so much real beauty in the world. You should never see it as dull and gray. The only reason you ever might think it's dull and gray is because you're not recognizing the absolute beauty that's in the world. It is immensely beautiful. Go on a hike. If you haven't been hiking, go hiking. It's a great time to just close off the rest of the world, look at the beauty around you, and contemplate about different things. All right? Joe, why are you laughing about hiking?
I can't believe you just told her to go take a hike. I mean, we're in the middle of
Go! Get out of here, punk!
Go take a hike.
Go take a hike. No, hike is just an example of something that you should do. But yeah, I mean, if people are inventing new technology all the time, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's super cool. VR chat, that's a great example. It's not just a distraction, it's something that is cool. And you're appreciating it. There's nothing wrong with appreciating something that's cool. So, try to work on, if you can, try to work on your perception of the dull and the gray, because it's beautiful. How dare you, Ryan? No, I know you're kidding. But anyways, that's the best that I've got, and I hope that's helpful. And I want you to feel secure in your relationship and recognizing the things that he said. That's a beautiful statement. Sounds true. Sounds like he's being truthful. And so let him know that even if your emotions fade away, prove it to him that even if you guys aren't in conversations, even if you don't feel all butterflies and stuff when you're around him anymore, even no matter what emotion you're feeling, you're going to be there for him. And he's going to be there for you. Right? And that's important, right? Trust in that. And then work on yourself, because that's the route to happiness, honestly. Is working on the virtues. What are your virtues? What virtues are good at? Work on those more. What virtues are you bad at? Look at those. Start thinking about them. Because that's the road to happiness. But anyhow, yeah. You're welcome. All right. Joe, did you have anything else you want to follow up with before we end this?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again, Ash. It's really good to hear from you. And then I wanted to, I made a joke at Ryan's expense there, but
No.
I just wanted to show people that really almost anything, it gets back to our first conversation at the very beginning of the show. Anyone can take anything in any different way. And it's really just important to talk. Communication is key. You've even identified that. So clarify what's happening, clarify what's going on, and deal with it. One of the things that I'm going to recommend to you, I don't know if it's true in your case, but one last thing as I was reading through here before we get out of here, I wanted to talk to you about is you make the commentary that I play a lot of VR as a nice distraction. And I'm going to recommend some time to just be still with the dull and lonely, because there's probably a reason that you're feeling it. It's not easy. It can be very difficult. And I'm not trying to say, hey, you need to like put yourself in a depressed state of mind. What I'm telling you is when you give yourself a distraction to get away from something, generally speaking, it's there when you get away from the distraction. It's going to come right back. There are very few things that you can kind of like hide from that don't continue. So I do want to just encourage you, hey, if you've got something going on there, to just kind of sit in that for a moment and kind of ask yourself, well, why? Like, why am I feeling this way? Because it's good to kind of embrace that, embrace who you are and kind of question who you are. It can lead to great growth. And it might sound like I'm asking you to do something crazy. I'm saying it also to me. Like, I need to do this more. And I hope everyone who watches this show recognizes, at least when I'm on here, that when I tell you something, half the time I'm like, Joe, you should really do that too. These things are generally accurate. Like, I have a question that I haven't gotten back to, because we do deal with things too. We are human. And so, as you grow, as you get older, as you deal with these things, you become a better person. You become more mature. You deal with many things. So, Ash, thank you for sharing. Thank you for growing. Thank you for not being complacent, as Ryan mentioned. And we're just grateful for everyone here who's decided to take part and watch and participate. So thanks to Princess for keeping us on track and helping out with this question. She's very wise and much more focused than at least I am. So with that, I'm going to kick it back to Ryan to close it off because he's in charge here.
Thanks. Yeah. No, Ash, I just want to say one more thing. Feel free. In fact, do bring your thoughts in front of your boyfriend. I think that's important. If you're going through this, then let him know, but let him know in a way that's not like, hey, it's your fault, you know. Make sure you let him know, like, hey, I'm experiencing this, and I want to tell you about my experiencing, and it's not your fault, and this is my insecurity, or this is my way of feeling about it, and so I just want to confirm, you know, like, what's going on in your brain. I want to pick apart your brain so that I understand and I can believe in you and trust in you. You know, it's important to do that. Super important to do that. I mean, I was doing that on like my first day of being in a relationship with I guess Ilvas or Ilva in the chat. So I don't know. I don't want to say her real name because I didn't know if that's something she'd want. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, it's important to talk about those things. It's important to be vulnerable and show that you have these thoughts and you want to understand his thoughts more. It's great. Communication is key, like you said. So do that. I encourage you to do that. So anyways, and I just said that because you said in your thing that you were a little bit worried about making him feel bad, about coming to him with that sort of thing. So just like I said so many times, open up with a disclaimer. Just say, hey, I don't want to make you feel bad about this because it's not really your fault. This is just what's going on in my brain. Right? Just open up with your disclosure first and then say what you got to say. But anyways, yeah. Thank you, Joe, for stepping in today while Joe was not able to. So we have Joe, and Joe, you've been great. Honestly, you did a fantastic job. I love how you kind of say things so clear and crisp, and I'm stumbling around my words. I feel like they take me a lot longer to say, and you just kind of like way more concisely than I ever have get to the topic and say it very clearly. So you're awesome, dude. Thank you, Princess, for being in our chat, for being on top of the timestamps, as well as even speaking for a bit as well, and sharing your wisdom. But yeah, thank you guys in the chat. You guys are all super awesome. I love you all, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your life. And I also hope to see you next Wednesday. See you guys later.
Bye. Thanks for your support.
Yep. Peace.